Welcome to the We Are Wake Tech podcast with your host, Wake Tech President, Dr. Scott Rawls.
Hello, I'm Scott Rawls, and welcome to this episode of the We Are Wake Tech podcast. I often say that Wake Tech is America's most comprehensive opportunity college. What does that mean? What I mean is that there's more doors to opportunity at Wake Tech than really any other college in the United States, because community colleges do more than most colleges and universities that people are typically aware of. And North Carolina does more in its community colleges than any other type of community college system. And since Wake Tech's the biggest of all the community colleges in North Carolina, there's more program opportunities here, more doors to opportunity than any other college. Now, the program area that really plays a role in opportunity, that front door to opportunity, and allowing us to do things that you won't see other colleges, other community colleges doing across the country as much, is what we call college and career readiness, our CCR programs. They're based at our Beltline Education Center. If you're ever driving around 440 and you see that big Wake Tech sign, that's where our college and career readiness programs. And sometimes I'll say that's my favorite location at Wake Tech because of the beauty of what happens in that specific facility. And here to describe what happens, the great programs and the work that takes place, commitment of the students and the faculty, is Dr. Michael Ellis, also affectionately known as Dr. Mike around those parts. And he's a unique guy who has works with just an amazing team to provide amazing opportunities. So Dr. Mike, welcome to the We Are Wake Tech podcast. I've been looking forward to your being on this podcast.
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me to come aboard for the podcast.
Well, we generally start with getting to know you just a little bit and your journey to Wake Tech. Students often start a journey at Wake Tech. Many students start in the CCR programs. Tell us a little bit, though, about your journey to Wake Tech. And, you've got a passion and a commitment like so many at Wake Tech. And what lit that fire for the passion, and what led you to Wake Tech?
Well, I think that passion for me started at home. When I was growing up, my mom didn't have a high school diploma. She hadn't finished high school. My dad had a low-paying job delivering milk in the area. I would go out with him. And when I was looking at colleges, looking at opportunities, my parents, my grandparents, nobody had ever been to college. And so I was a first-generation college student from a kind of a poor family. And when I first went and looked at colleges, it was I was overwhelmed, and it was a brand new environment, a brand new place, and I didn't feel like I really fit in. But I went to college. After I finished my undergraduate at Indiana University, my mom enrolled in the community college in Dayton, Ohio at Sinclair Community College.
Great college, great partner.
Yeah, great school. She finished her high school equivalency. She got her associate degree there at Sinclair. And as I was working through my own family stuff, my wife has had a disease called cystic fibrosis. My son, who we adopted when we were living in North Carolina, he also had cystic fibrosis. And both of them within the past decade basically have passed away because of the disease. And I was looking to figure out how in the world could I leave a legacy of good for the people that have helped me so much. And this opportunity opened up at Wake Tech, and I applied. I've been in the community college system about 10 years. But for me, this is the group of people that really have meant a lot in my past, and I wanted to be able to help those people who hadn't gotten a high school diploma, maybe who came from a poor background, maybe who are immigrants who haven't had opportunities. And this to me was a great opportunity, and it's been a great fit. Like you said, I've got a phenomenal team. We've got 60 full-time people that work in CCR. We've got 120 part-time people that work in CCR. And, we've been serving, this year, we're just under 3,000 students that we've served so far. We're going to be really close to 4,000 students. And so there's a need in Wake County. Our people are passionate, and it's just a phenomenal group.
It is a great group, and you're a great leader for a great group. One of the things I love about our CCR team, nobody's there because of the job. It is a job. I understand it, like everything, but it is a true passion and commitment to, bettering the lives of others, and that's really to the overall Wake Tech spirit. And one thing I like to say about Wake Tech is, we're as proud of our inclusivity as others are of other forms of colleges are proud of their exclusivity. The way they rank colleges these days, sometimes the U.S. News rankings, it's based on, one of the things that weights you is how many students you reject. Well, we're just the opposite. We take, as I like to say, the top 100%. But to take people from everywhere, regardless of their previous circumstances, they have to have the opportunity to start at any particular level, regardless of their previous educational opportunities. And, that's, I think, where college and career readiness, CCR, is so important, so fundamental to who we are, because absent CCR, we couldn't make that commitment to be able to, as we've always said in the community colleges, to, start here and go as far as your talents will take you to. And you can't start if you don't have a place to start, regardless of what your previous opportunities. So that's the beauty of CCR. Let's talk a little bit about the programs, the people, what that means. And, you mentioned the scale. I mean, the CCR program in terms of students, you said 4,000. Is that what you said? 3 to 4?
Yeah, we have just under 3,000 right now. We figure by the end of June, it'll be very close to 4,000.
So by itself, the CCR program is bigger than a lot of colleges out there.
Right.
And if you ever go into our Beltline Center, it's a big place, and it has to be because we serve so many people. But let's talk about the program areas in CCR and why they're so important and what they mean. And so just walking through those, some we will refer to as adult basic education. These are programs that are through the community colleges. We're fortunate in North Carolina. They're funded both through federal funding, but also state funding, which also supports, which is not always the case in other states. And adult basic education, some would sometimes think of as literacy and numeracy. Talk a little bit about those opportunities that are available through CCR.
Well, I'm really proud of the fact of the programming that we had. And so I'll start with our Pathfinders program. Pathfinders is in our adult basic education, and it's for those individuals who have some kind of intellectual or developmental disability. And we give them an opportunity to explore 6 different career pathways. Our students have, in the Pathfinders program, some of them have congenital issues, some of them are on the autism spectrum. Some of them have been through the public school system and haven't had a lot of support, and so they've been able to come in and they can look at horticulture, healthcare, animal care, being an entrepreneur, food service, technology careers, and we've had a number of our Pathfinder students able to go out and find jobs when before they couldn't find an opportunity. So to me, that's really exciting.
Yeah, that's I love that program, and it's a program you see a lot of community colleges where the colleges adopt, the Pathfinder students because they are so special. They have certain challenges that our other students don't have in terms of their, intellectual disabilities. But that's the beauty, is that this is their college and their opportunities are here. And I love seeing them out in the community. You will see Pathfinder students, that baristas and who have been able to grab that opportunity because of what they've been able to accomplish at Wake Tech.
That's right. It's phenomenal. The teachers in the Pathfinder program, they're so dedicated and they're so passionate. They just work together very well. Another program that really is close to my heart, we call HEP, H-E-P, which stands for the High School Equivalency Program for Migratory and Farm Workers. It's a mouthful. But we're the only HEP program in the state of North Carolina. We're actually the only HEP program within 3 states. There's none in Virginia, there's none in South Carolina. We cover a wide area. And we were one of the first to go completely online before COVID, before the pandemic. Our team had the foresight to convert everything to online. And so this is a federally funded program where people who have come into the United States and who have been working in farms or they're working in food processing plants and they don't have a high school equivalency, they can come in and get their high school diploma. We do that in Spanish and we do that in English. And so we're reaching a wide group of people, and for them, it's a huge step up from what they've been able to do in the past. And so that program, we just were awarded our 5th grant cycle. And so we're going to be starting our 21st year using HEP at CCR. Yeah, it's a phenomenal group.
I was actually, coincidentally, at lunch today, I was using HEP as an example of talking to someone who's in the community about what you see. You can't imagine what you can find at Wake Tech. So would you imagine that Wake Tech is the high school education site for the seasonal farm workers in North Carolina as well as other states? You know, that's what we do. That's kind of phenomenal in and of itself. And then you put it together with all the other programs that we do. But it's one that, you know, even if you're at Wake Tech and you work at Wake Tech, most Wake Techians wouldn't know that because they wouldn't run into it and see it.
Right.
It is a phenomenal program to provide that opportunity to people who are coming into our country to work in our fields, to work on our farms, to work in food processing. And, you know, what they are able to get with the federal government support is high school education through Wake Tech. That's what HEP is. So it's unique. I will also tell you that, well, I have to be careful when I say favorites, but at least tied for favorite, one of my favorite graduations is whenever we have the HEP graduation. That when you see everyone coming in from all over, that's something to see. So thanks for talking about that.
It is phenomenal. Our graduations in general are phenomenal. And unfortunately, fortunately, we've been able to do them outside in the parking lot at the Beltline Education Center, and we'll have our HEP graduates and our other high school equivalency graduates come in. And the last 2 times we've had the cars lined up around the Beltline. And the first time we did the outdoor graduation, I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but we had the cars lined up and people had their pickup trucks and the families had the signs in the back of the pickup trucks and they're saying, "Way to go, Margot." You know,
I'm going to be a little sad when we go back indoors because those drive-through CCR graduations have just been terrific. Sometimes people see them on the Beltline, they start honking their horns, and
that's right.
And when the kids are in the back of the pickup truck and they have a sign that says "Way to go, Mom" or something, it just, you know, you just get choked up when you see it.
That's right. And there were a lot of those vehicles. It was the parent that was graduating and all of their kids are in the cars and the kids are like, "Yay, Mom," you know, "Go, Dad." And for those parents, though, you could see them and they could see their kids and tears started streaming down their face because they never envisioned that they would have the opportunity to finish their high school diploma, their high school equivalency, and now their kids are seeing that in real time, and it helps those kids understand how important it was to their parents to get that credential and to be able to go forward. It just really is a moving opportunity.
And you and I get to be on stage and hand out those diplomas, but I don't know about you, but sometimes it's tough to keep the composure because when when all of a sudden you just see in their faces and the, you know, the excitement of the parents and the kids, and it's just, you know, it's you get a little choked up there, which is the beauty of be able to work at a place where you can regularly not only be inspired, but occasionally be choked up by the level of inspiration.
Well, that's the thing that I think keeps us all going. And of course, COVID has made it so much more complicated and so much more stressful for our team. But, you know, before COVID, we were doing it. Almost 95% of our programming was seated, traditional in the classroom classes. And then because of COVID, you know, we went out in March of 2020 and it immediately pivoted to doing all of our programming online. And it's hard for everybody to understand how big of a barrier that is for our students.
Yeah.
Because so many of our students come from underprivileged backgrounds. They don't have internet access in their homes. Still, even after we've given away more than 300 laptops to our students over the past year and a half, more than half of our students, their only device is a smartphone. And I don't know how people can appreciate how difficult it is to go into a class and take a class on your phone.
Yeah.
You're trying to do assignments and, interacting with the other students and the teacher, because most of our online classes are synchronous real-time classes. They're being delivered through the internet. They're watching their teacher. They're answering questions. But the fact that our students, so many of them were able to stay and our teachers were able to adapt to that environment, it's just been a testimony to how important it is for these students to have this opportunity and how important it is for our faculty and our staff to provide it. Because if they don't get it, there's no other place. There's no place else they can go to get the kind of thing that we're offering here at Wake Tech.
And it's a testament to your team at CCR as well as the students, because we've seen it. We can see it in our data. The more challenged students are economically, the more challenged, and also in terms of preparation, the more challenging online education has been for them. I mean, it just, and so, our CCR students are, frequently among our most challenged. They're living on the edge in terms of the economics of their circumstances. And, you throw one more thing on top of that. I mean, the challenge of, starting, college in, the programs and then and moving forward is enough for anyone. But then you throw COVID and you throw online, and it's been remarkable what your team and the commitment of the students to move forward has been.
Well, it has been phenomenal to watch. And our students who don't have a lot, and I don't know what your experience has been, but my experience has been the people that have the least have been the most generous, and that's been true. Like in our English as a second language, our ESL program, before we had the Nest fully in place here at the Beltline Center.
And for our listeners, the Nest is our college pantries, our food pantries that we have on all our campuses. So sorry.
No, that's a good clarification point. It's not a big bird nest in the middle of the Beltline. It's a big pile of food. But before we had the Nest fully in place, our ESL students were the ones that brought in food because they saw other ESL students not having anything to eat, and they brought in so much food it was almost too much to give away. The fact that they saw a need and they filled that need, I think that's what helps our team keep going. When it's really difficult and really stressful, we see the impact, we see the difference we're making in it, and it really does make a tremendous difference. So we have a great population of learners for sure. Very generous, very committed, and they have untold number of barriers. I've discovered students that have been living in their car, and they're hanging out and they're wanting to go to class because they know this is the only thing that's going to get them into a position where maybe they won't have to live in their car anymore. They're working jobs that are changing all the time, again, because of COVID and their hours, and the child care centers have closed up, and they have children and they have no place that they can send them to, but they're still coming. They're still working their class schedules into their busy lives that they have. And the fact that they're committed so much, it helps us to be committed to them.
Sometimes people will, when they stereotype college students in general, sometimes they'll use the phrase entitled. I don't know what the opposite of entitled is. That's what CCR students are, and a lot of times, and our community college students, it is the commitment to. I remember a story. Gosh, I can't tell the whole story, but students who will walk forever to go to their class, who will, and that story that you told about the English as a second language students filling up our pantry for their fellow students, that's the inspiration that makes it all worth it.
That's right. That's right.
Let's talk a little bit about those programs that some of them. Before we get off, we started talking. We were talking about the HEP program for seasonal farm workers, but it's only a small part of our high school equivalency programs. So we're a college, but we're a college where not everybody starts in college courses because they may not have finished high school, and that's what makes us so inclusive, is because you can start at any level, regardless of your preparation. And for many of our students, that is in high school or high school equivalency. So maybe tell us a little bit about what high school equivalency is and what adult high school is at Wake Tech.
So we have our ABE, our Adult Basic Education Program, and our ASE, Adult Secondary Education Program. And then we have our adult high school. And so what happens is that because of our funding, students are able to come and take classes from us tuition waived. They don't have to pay anything to take the high school equivalency. And for a lot of
CR classes are free, right? So
yeah.
That's, we didn't note that, but yeah. So
yeah, everything we do in CCR, our students aren't paying anything for what we're providing. Now it's expensive education for sure.
It's not free in terms of the but it's free in terms of the tuition for our students.
That's right. So our students, if they haven't finished high school and they have some high school credits, then they can enroll in our adult high school program, which for a while we had about the fourth largest number of graduates out of any of the high schools in all of Wake County. Because they could take their credits from the public school system, transfer them into our adult high school, and then they could complete, and they actually get a high school diploma from Wake County Public Schools and Wake Tech. So this is a great opportunity if somebody had to stop out of high school because of COVID or because of an issue, and then they continue that on. If we've had
a North Carolina high school graduate. So they're, as any other high school graduate, I think we have 26 high schools in Wake County, but just like any others, you're a graduate of North Carolina high schools.
That's right. That's right. If they've been separated for a while, maybe they've always wanted to get a high school equivalency. Then they can come in, they can sit for an assessment to see where they are with their English language, with their math skills, and then we can place them in a level appropriate class, and then they can work through and get all of the prep that they need to sit for either the GED or the HiSET, which are the two high school equivalency tests that are considered legitimate credentials here in North Carolina. So we'll prepare them for the GED or the HiSET. And I was talking to one of our learners last year. She was 75 years old, had never finished her high school equivalency. And she said her kids kept saying, and her grandkids kept saying, "Grandmama, you got to finish your high school equivalency. You got to finish it." And she said, "Without Wake Tech, I wouldn't have been able to do it, but I did it." And now my grandkids and even my great grandkids are saying, "Way to go, Grandma." And, it's just a lot of people have had experiences in their home life or in certain school settings where they didn't feel like they belonged or they didn't get the extra help that they needed. If they come to us, we can figure out where they need to go, and then they can go forward. They can do something that they felt like they could never do before.
Yeah.
And I hear that over and over again from our learners.
Yeah, and you're the expert, so correct me on this because I may be wrong, but let me just walk through for our listeners. So adult high school is a North Carolina high school. You're taking courses as you would in a North Carolina high school. High school equivalency prepares you for an equivalency exam, which allows you to move forward into college as if you did not graduate from high school as you would through another high school. So GED or HiSET are the two nationally recognized examinations. And so you are gaining the skills of equivalency of high school to move forward.
That's right.
And then the HEP program is a special high school equivalency program for primarily seasonal farm workers in North Carolina. So that's quite a menu of opportunities to start in high school. But I guess, but for several of our students, they might not be ready for those high school courses, and that's where some of our ABE programs, what some would think of as literacy or numeracy, some people may see my eyes rolling. It's not my eyes are rolling, but I'm looking at a book that's on my shelf here. Pull it out. Just excuse me, listeners. So it's one of my favorite students when I was president of Craven Community College was a guy named Earl Mills, who wrote a book of poetry called From Literate to Poet.
Oh,
and
wow.
Earl ran the gamut. I mean, he started out, pre-high school, and he learned to read at the community college. He gained his reading skills and kept moving forward until, he became a poet. I remember he gave me that book, and I've carried it around with me everywhere I go. So tell us a little bit about that aspect, which is even before you might even be in a high school equivalency or adult high school program.
Well, we have the full spectrum. So a lot of our learners come in through our ESL, through our English as a second language. And
maybe we should start there then. Okay, back up. Tell us about ESL, and then we'll go to the literacy numeracy.
So with ESL, we have a lot of people that their first contact with us is trying to learn English as a second language because they've immigrated into the United States. And we've had a lot of people recently come in from Afghanistan. We've enrolled nearly 40 people since the beginning of the year that were people that came on those airlifts that the United States government facilitated to get those people out of Afghanistan. But they cover the gamut. We have people that have never been to school ever in their entire lifetime, and they're illiterate in their home language. And so they're coming to us. They can't write in their home language. They certainly don't know English. And so they come with zero skills. Now, in that group from Afghanistan, we even had an Afghan general who has graduate degrees in other languages but doesn't know English. And so he's very literate in his home language, but has zero English skills, and so they're all starting on the same plane. They're all starting together, and they can work through ESL. We start at level 1, and they can work through 6 levels of ESL and go all the way through the program. But if they go through ESL and they still need work, and they still need high school equivalency, or maybe they're a native English speaker, but they didn't have hardly any education, then they can come into our basic ABE programming, and we'll do foundations of reading. We'll do our basic math courses. We'll help them along the way. And we have really seen a lot of people step up to help these learners. We have a tutor volunteer program called Waves, where we have individuals from all over Wake County that have been volunteering in person and online to help these learners get through their problem areas, and everything that they do is volunteer. But without a number of these volunteers, these students who are coming with so many needs, they wouldn't have been able to get through it because they needed that extra support, that extra time. And so our faculty, our staff, our volunteers are all here to help those individuals. So wherever they are, zero English, zero literacy in whatever language, or if they have a lot of literacy in another language but zero skills in English, we take them all.
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty right there. We've been throwing names out of programs, but for someone, regardless of where their previous education opportunity, or maybe they had great education opportunity in their homeland, but they've got to start over in English. Doesn't matter where you can start at Wake Tech, regardless of where you are. And that's the beauty of our system. That's the old, for those who've been in the system, what we call the Dallas Herring philosophy of taking people where they are and carrying them as far as they can go. Well,
that's right.
If it wasn't for CCR programs, college and career readiness, that would not be possible. You couldn't take people where they are regardless if it was not for CCR.
There was an elderly woman and her daughter that came through our program. They're both from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The mom, she was never permitted to go to school ever. In her community, women were not allowed to partake in education. She just wasn't allowed. But when she was raising her daughter, she said to her daughter, learning is the foundation. You need to learn. I've never been able to go learn, but you need to learn. And so her daughter figured out a way to get them both here to the United States. They both enrolled at Wake Tech at the same time. And both of them have moved through the ESL programming, and now the daughter, she's already finished her high school equivalency. She's gone on to her degree at Wake Tech and her associate degree. She's working on that. Her mom is almost ready to take her high school equivalency. And the fact that you have this family unit coming to the United States with nothing.
Yeah.
And they're able to sit down and learn. When I was talking with the mom, tears started pouring down her face because she's like, Dr. Mike, I never was able to learn, and now I can.
Well, those are students that sometimes I use the phrase heroes in the hallways because, they're just educationally heroic in terms of what they're doing. And, we're fortunate to be able to work around people like that, it's a wonderful thing to be able to be inspired every day by where you are. And some people who really work with us so much in this area. I'm glad you brought up the volunteers, because each year we have our awards and we'll recognize volunteers, and a lot of times we'll list the number of hours, and it makes you wonder, well, do they not sleep? What do they do? How do you get that many hours of volunteering to tutor people, and so I know when we talk about CCR and we talk about the staff and we talk about people who work at Wake Tech, but it's also very much it's the whole community of support that wraps themselves around the students, like we like to say at Wake Tech, rally around our students, and those volunteers are crucial for our program.
That's right. It's amazing, the stories that we see and hear, the amount of work and effort that goes into helping these individuals. But from my vantage point, CCR is serving the neediest in Wake County. And if we can serve them, then that facilitates the greatest difference in their opportunity. They can be lifted out of poverty. They can be lifted out of illiteracy. They can be given a dream of an opportunity that they never could dream before. And I think, for me anyway, that is what sets a fire inside of me, is to see these people that they felt trapped, or they felt like they had no opportunity, and all of a sudden they come in and they start seeing progress. They start learning English words. They start figuring out how to do fractions. They start figuring out how to write a sentence and a paragraph, and all of a sudden a job application doesn't look intimidating anymore. All of a sudden trying to get a job that pays you more than $7.25 an hour, that seems realistic all of a sudden. And for them to have that opportunity at a real career and not just a job, it's amazing. It really is.
Become a college graduate and write a book of poetry. So
that's right. That's exactly right.
Mike, I really appreciate you being with us today. One of our recent chair of our county commissioners, Matt Calabria, has a saying that he would say sometimes, that it's not enough for us to be great. We also need to be good.
Yeah.
And when I think about college and career readiness, you're great and you're good. and that's special. So thank you to your team, all the volunteers, everybody, and those students who inspire us. For the listeners out there, this is an opportunity. What if you had one thing to ask our listeners, if they wanted to help, what would that be? Maybe not one thing, maybe two things, but what's the way in which folks, if they want to get involved in helping this great collaborative opportunity here at Wake Tech, what would that be?
Well, I think there are a couple of things. One is if you know somebody in the area, somebody in need that doesn't have their high school equivalency, or they need English as a second language classes, point them to Wake Tech. A lot of people don't know that we exist, and I want more people to know that we are here. We are here to help. We have limited capacity because it's this online environment, has limited the number of seats that we have available. It's limited.
We're back now. We're coming back. So
we're coming back. That's right. We have more in-person classes that are starting up at the Beltline and our West Campus and the North Campus. We have different CCR classes happening there and our South Campus. But let people know that we can help, and they can go to our website, waketech.edu/CCR or ccr.waketech.edu. You can find us that way. And the second thing is, if you want to volunteer, click that button. We got 2 people that will reach out to you to see what you can do to fit in. But just let everyone know there's no reason to ever stop learning. There's no reason for somebody to not get their high school equivalency. There's no reason for somebody not to develop their English skills. We have that available. They don't have to pay any tuition. They just have to commit to the time to come to the class and devote their learning energies to figuring out what's the next step, what's the next part of their dream. And if you want to help, we would love to have your assistance.
I'll add one little one too. Hopefully our graduation in May will not be outdoor drive-by, but if it is, if you're driving by the Beltline Center where it's around 440 and you can see Wake Tech and you see a bunch of folks standing out there in academic regalia on a stage and people coming by in pickup trucks and other cars getting their diplomas, honk your horn. It's a celebration. It is a celebration.
It is.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Mike. Our guest today in the We Are Wake Tech podcast has been Dr. Michael Ellis, our Dean of our College and Career Readiness programs. Dr. Mike, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what your whole team does. We love our career, I always say career first, college and career readiness team and our students. It's just amazing. Thank you for making Wake Tech the most comprehensive opportunity college in the United States. Thank you, Dr. Mike.
Thank you. It's our great privilege.
Lori Clowers, and have you heard the news? Wake Tech has been recognized by Newsweek as one of the top 150 colleges and universities in the country. That's right, Wake Tech is there along with such highly respected institutions as Duke University, Stanford, and Purdue. Wake Tech was the only North Carolina community college to make the list. Graduates of Wake Tech's Electro-Neurodiagnostic Technology program have a new opportunity to continue their education. Wake Tech has signed an articulation agreement creating a seamless path to transfer to Siena Heights University's online Bachelor of Science degree program. Technologists in this field use electronic testing equipment to record electrical activity in the brain. Wake Tech President Dr. Scott Rawls has been appointed to a federal telecommunications task force to help identify current and future needs of the telecommunications industry workforce. Dr. John Bakken has been named the college's new Dean of Mathematics and Sciences. He began at Wake Tech as a math instructor in 2005 and most recently served as Dean of Curriculum Support. Wake Tech is marking Black History Month with numerous programs and events on multiple campuses this month. And finally, Wake Tech has launched a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council. It's a cross-section of faculty, staff, students, and administrators who are committed to cultivating inclusive practices, policies, and programs, and fostering an environment where everyone feels valued and respected. The council is a rally mark in the college's Reach and Rally strategic plan. And if you're interested in joining us at Wake Tech, you can get started in March. Visit springahead.waketech.edu and apply today. And that's the latest Wake Tech news.
My name is Kim Cornell, and I'm a faculty member in the accounting department here at Wake Tech. It's that time of year again. Tax time, everybody's favorite time, and I'm going to give you a few tips on how to avoid delays in processing your tax return this year. And that is the name of the game this year. I'm sure it's making headlines everywhere that the IRS is inundated with last year's returns, this year's returns. So the key to getting your refund on time is to make sure there aren't any errors in filing your tax return. To that end, let me give you a few tips on making sure that you get your refund as quickly as possible. First and foremost, file electronically. The IRS still does accept paper returns, but again, the delays in processing them and getting your refunds are pretty quick on those. Choose to have any refund that you might receive direct deposited. Again, they will cut you a paper check, but you can expect to wait a good, I'm 6 months on those, so go ahead and have them direct deposited. Get all your documents ready prior to beginning the process. This would be your W-2s, your various 1099s, mortgage interest statements, charitable contributions. This year, there's two things you really need to look for on your tax return. If you received any stimulus money, that was a guesstimate. The government guesstimated who received the stimulus, who was eligible for the stimulus money, and how much they would receive. It's going to be trued up on your tax return this year. So you may find that you have to pay some of that back, or you may find that you deserve a stimulus check that you didn't know you were eligible for. The other thing, ditto for the advanced child tax credit payments. The IRS for half the year gave you an advance on that. And it was just an estimate. It's going to have to be trued up on your tax return also to see if you're actually eligible for that. IRS free file program, a lot of headlines about TurboTax leaving the free file program. That doesn't mean the free filing program does not exist. Go to the IRS website, irs.gov. Plenty of resources at the irs.gov there for you. You can follow through the links to pick a provider for the free file program. Another real quick point, unemployment this year, 100% taxable. Last year in 2020, we had a roughly $10,000 exemption for that. Also, irs.gov, I cannot emphasize enough how many resources they have there. Go there, there's a lot of information. We have international students here at Wake Tech. There's a lot of information about the special rules that apply to international students at irs.gov. I wish everybody well with their filing season. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the We Are Wake Tech podcast. Join us next month for more insightful conversations about the programs and people of Wake Tech and how the college changes lives every day. Be sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast app to have each episode delivered right to your computer or mobile device. For more, find us at podcast.waketech.edu. To learn more about Wake Tech's exceptional educational opportunities, visit waketech.edu.